What is up, YouTube? Today we have another bike review video for you, but this one is a little bit different. This is Candice and I talking about her experience riding and demoing the Ari Nebo Peak e-bike.
Wow.
For Candice's full written review, be sure to check out our website, and we are also posting this video on our podcast platform. So let's get into it.
Hello, everyone. Today we've got a really special bike review because it's me and Candice, our regular trail shorty. Is it regular or our resident trail shorty in the house? And she got to demo out the Ari Nebo Peak for a few days. How did you like that bike, Candice? We're going to go into it, but first impressions, what do you think of bike?
I was a little hesitant because I don't normally ride an e-bike. And honestly, that was the first time I had a long chance to ride an e-bike, but I loved it. It was a fun bike.
Yeah, I think we have a convert here in our hands. We have a person who is going to want an e-bike now.
Yeah, I think so.
So the great folks at Ari sent us the Nebo Peak for us to demo out in a small frame. And I thought the bike would fit me at 5'4.5". But it was a tad small. I still rode it. I had a good time, but it really fit Candice really, really well. Just real quick, we'll go over the build super fast with you guys, and I'll have everything at the end of the video for those who want to see more about the geometry and some of the key features of the build that we got to demo out. So it was the Nebo Peak Pro, and it has 140 mil of travel in the rear and 150 mil of travel in the front. And it came with the SRAM XO Eagle transmission, which is one of the new wireless SRAMs. And I believe, Candice, that's the first time you've ridden wireless, or no? Wireless transmission?
Yeah. Because my Juliana has it now, but I just started riding those, so yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go into that too, and Candice's take on those. We got to ride at Skypark Bike Park. What did you think, aside from Sandy, what did you think of Skypark Bike Park as a whole?
I loved it, and I really thought the Christmas theme was just a really fun part of that. I'm a big Christmas person, so to have Christmas in July and combined mountain biking with that was just such a fun day. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, Skypark is the best. I love that place. Let's go a little bit into the riding characteristics of the bike. What did you think in terms of climbing? Because, for those who don't know, Skypark is an enduro style bike park. So you have to pedal to the top to do the downhill runs. So it's a great place to demo a bike. So Candice, what did you think of the climbing capabilities of that bike?
I actually really enjoyed it, and that bike is so light. I was able to actually just keep it in eco. I don't mind a climb, so I do like to push myself a little bit and see if I can get a little comfortable on the climb. So I kept it in eco, and I was fully assisted. So I actually felt like I was cooking up those hills. So
Cooking.
it was just a great bike to climb with, and I still felt like I was getting a bit of a workout, even though I was on an e-bike.
Yeah, and I think I'm not sure how long the climb was. Maybe it's 10 minutes on a regular bike.
Yeah, and I think I clocked it at right at a mile or a little over. So it wasn't
there you go.
Terrible. Just you're just continuously heading upward. So
yeah. Did you have any issues when you were climbing a little steeper sections?
I did take that. There was I think a Black Diamond climbing trail to get to the top. That supposedly is a little shorter. So because I had it in eco, there was a few punchy parts that I wasn't quite ready for, and I should have had that in not turbo, but maybe medium to help me get. But I was still able to get to the top. It's just I was kind of gassing out. So yeah, that was probably the only time I had issues.
So climbing, you felt the bike handled it really well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. Especially because the bike, it's got 150 mil in the front, so it's not super slack to where it should affect climbing. So in terms of descending, like what did you think about the bike when you were descending? Blue runs, black runs. Let's start with the blue runs first.
Yeah, a lot of the blue runs, some of that was a little steeper. Again, we're really not used to massive elevation out here in Northwest Arkansas. So some of the steepness, it felt totally fine. I was actually really comfortable, probably on the second run down. I think just like trying on that first time, trying to make sure that I had everything, feeling everything that was great and getting comfortable with it and so forth, and checking on the brakes and how grippy were they and all that. Going down, it was perfect. I mean, even in some of the sand pits that we were hitting, that was a little, I think just more so based off of my skill level, not the bike, I was a little nervous with, but I thought it handled great.
No, you're a great rider. I think it's, there's a lot of variables here. You're on a new bike, new brakes, new terrain. You handled it like a champ. Like, you guys should see some of the things she did. Actually, let's roll some clip right now. There's this feature called, I call it the toilet bowl. And we did that feature over and over again. And at one point we had a really big train and Candice is just ripping down that thing. And it was such a sick ride. What did you think of that trail? That was my favorite. That's my favorite trail at Skypark.
That was my favorite trail. I ended up riding that over and over because, and honestly, remember you took me to that, we're going to show you this feature. What do you think about it? Like, no, that's a no for me. I'm not doing that. And I think I was just like hesitant because I didn't want to get hurt out in California. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, I'm on this new bike. It was nothing. Once I did it the first time, I'm like, that was a blast. We got to go back and do it over and over.
And one of the cool things I saw you doing, you were doing some good little jumps over the rollers. Like once you got really used to the bike, I think I saw you catching some air up there.
Yeah, well, that was the other fun thing about that bike is it's light enough that I didn't feel like it caused me to not be able to launch off that bike. I mean, I just compressed enough at the lips of some of those jumps and I was able to get some air. So it was fun. And when I hit the ground, so smooth. Like I didn't hear my tires at all. And I just was like I might be an e-biker now.
I mean, you kind of need an e-bike in Arkansas. I'm just gonna put that out there. Well, I'm glad that the descending was fun for you. I did see you having so much fun out there. It was really great to ride behind you and get some follow cam footy of that too. So speaking of weight, the bike weighed in at 40.5 pounds, I believe. I weighed it here at the house before we left. I do have a scale now, people. Feedback Sports sent us a scale. So what did you think about the weight? At 40 pounds, you're 5 foot tall on the nose, 5 foot on the nose.
Yep.
Short inseam, and the bike was 40 pounds. Tell us a little bit about how you felt with that going into it. Like, did you have any reservations of riding a bike at your height at that weight?
Yeah, which I think that's part of my hesitation with any e-bike is in case that thing falls and I'm on top of it or beneath it, whatever, how am I going to push a 40-pound bike off of me if I'm on a incline of a hill or so forth? And I think it also would have hurt myself more because this heavy bike falls on me. I'm coming off of a cross-country bike that weighs all of 27 pounds. So 40 pounds is a bigger difference for sure. But honestly, I didn't feel that it didn't feel heavy to me. So, and it was such a sleek frame. It just felt very streamlined, like how the frame was built and the geometry of it. It doesn't feel like 40 pounds.
Right. And you had it on eco. And so climbing on eco, you didn't feel there was a big weight there either?
No, I felt totally assisted up the climbs, and I kept it in eco just so I could really see how much assistance do I need in eco to get up the hill? And I mean, I felt like I was climbing with my regular bike. So
that's awesome, dude. That's so good.
Great.
This bike also is a full 29er, but Ari do allow it to be mulleted. Actually, I think you can even select that at checkout if you buy the bike. You can either do a full 29er or mullet. How did you feel with a full 29er?
I did like the full 29. I do feel like per my height, I would always choose a mullet just because of my standover is it just gives me a little bit more wiggle room that way, but also giving me that front tire to have that 29-inch so I can have that rolling capability. So
yeah,
but my preference, right? So as a shorter rider.
I mean, that's what mountain biking is about, is personal preference.
Yeah. But on the e-bike, I mean, it's not like I felt that, prevented me from doing anything that I wasn't capable of doing before. So it was a great bike. I just think if I were to purchase it, I would probably customize it that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so stoked you had a good time on that thing. So let's go a little bit into, since we're kind of talking about geometry, we touched on this earlier. What did you think of the standover height for you?
The standover was fine. I will say my dropper was still a little high, which is actually quite normal for me on most demo bikes. So again, I would have to customize that as well and change out the dropper, but the standover was fine other than that.
And the cool thing with Ari, like they did put a 150 mil dropper post on that because that's what I requested because I thought the bike would fit me. It turned out that you were in town at the right time. But one of the cool things is that Ari customizes that as well. So when you order a bike from Ari, they will ask for your measurements, your inseam, your height. So they can customize the length of your dropper, if you want a 29er, if you want wide bars, or if they need to cut the bars for you. Like, I think that's amazing that they go into that level of detail. So if you were to order a bike.
Yeah. And I mean, at this point I'm on my third bike while I've been riding, and like those options have not been offered. You just kind of buy it, okay, size small, and then you get it and you customize it. So, I mean, that is such an awesome option to have. So,
yeah, it really is.
Customized thing,
So the standover was okay. What about the reach? Because for me, when I sat on that bike, I was really encroached. So the reach was short for me, 100%. How did you feel with the reach?
I felt comfortable with it. So I'm again used to a cross-country bike, so I feel like I already sit really high and lean forward a lot with my cross-country bike. So yeah, it didn't feel any different.
Okay, so you weren't super stretched out. That's good. The bars were cut at not as wide. They weren't 800 mil. I believe they were 760, which again were a little short for me. But even for you at a smaller frame, did you feel they were still super wide? Would you cut the bars a little bit more?
I usually start at 760, and this is also, it's almost like per bike how I want those bars, because each one I'm positioned differently within how I'm sitting in the bike. So I think my Rocky Mountain, I have them a little longer, like at 760, and then I think the Julia, I cut them even shorter because I'm so slacked in the bike. I felt like I wanted a tighter cockpit. So it's yeah, that's just such a new thing for me too, to really be able to feel the geometry is affecting how I want my handlebars. So
yeah, and it's so important. It's things that a lot of people overlook, like the width of your handlebars. It's so important for the discipline you're doing, because I think, if you're riding cross country, the bars are a little shorter and they're more flat, whereas if you're doing downhill, you want something a little wider and with a deeper what's it called? What am I trying to say?
This thing.
Here we go.
What would you call that? The middle of the handlebar?
The middle of the handlebar. So it's a ride. It's a ride.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the ride. So for cross country, you have flatter bars with shorter rides. And then this one, for example, is like a trail bike ride. This is like a 25 inch. I'm not sure. Okay, moving on from geometry. Wait, no, let's just still talk about geometry real quick. The wheelbase. What did you feel of the wheelbase of the bike? Do you think that was long enough and stable enough for you? Did you feel stable on it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually wish that there was a little bit more tech so that I could have felt just how it handled on rock. But I did follow Lauren down, and you do enter on a couple of rock gardens, and it was totally great. I think the only time is feeling the sand pits, and trying to understand how far back I needed to be to weight that rear tire, and also staying forward enough to weight the front tire. So
yeah.
But yeah, it didn't feel any different. So
And we touched on this a little bit too, where you talked about the motor, where you kept it in eco the majority of the time. When you did boost it, the very rare time that you boosted it, how did that feel?
It felt, I mean, it was fun, but
Yeah.
I will say that I was so not comfortable when I would pedal. It would feel like, I mean, it was taken off. So for me, I didn't really enjoy that because I was getting nervous that I was going to be shot off the bike a little bit. And I just like I said, that bike was so light, keeping it in eco, it felt totally assisted. I was not overworking. Yeah. So I didn't feel the need to totally boost until I got to that really steep one climbing section. I should have done it, but it was a little too late. Yeah.
Whatever. We didn't take that climbing section again. Yeah. And I'd say we did quite a bit of mileage. I'll get the full mileage and put it up on the screen for you all to see how much we rode that day. But in eco, I don't even think that battery got to halfway, right?
No, that battery.
And you rode it for 2 days.
Yeah, and we didn't charge it.
We didn't charge it at all. That's right. You rode it for like 4 hours on Friday and the full day on Saturday.
Yeah, I want to say the battery showed that like one dash was off. So it like had lost like the tiniest bit of battery.
That's what you get when you put it on eco. So even though the bike is an SL, it still did really, really well. I'm surprised. I mean, not surprised. I mean, it's a great bike and the motor is great. It's the Fazua Ride 60 motor. And I've demoed 2 other bikes that have that motor in it. And I mean, I use the boost. So the battery depletes more.
The boost was fun. The boost was fun, but I was just trying to see how far I could go with eco. I was just curious. Like, okay.
I mean,
40 pounds, like, and you know, like I'm 110, push me up this hill then, sucker.
Yeah.
So,
love it.
And it did.
Ari offers 4 different builds: the comp, the elite, the pro, and the team. You can also buy just the frame and the shocks separately. This build came with the Ari Team handlebar and stem, an Ergon saddle, which was very comfortable, GT Swiss wheel set and hubs, a Dissector Maxxis tire in the front, and an Assegai Maxxis tire in the rear.
So overall, final impressions of the bike, what did you think? Who do you think this bike is for?
I would say maybe, you know, if you want a great bike that is probably going to last you on the trails for 20 miles, light enough that you don't need to boost it all the time and you can run it on eco to save your battery. Like, I just thought it was a great bike.
Yeah, I think, you know, now I'm guilty of boosting it. Even when I had it for that day, I did boost it up the little hill at my house. I just like going fast on the uphills, so I think that's the thing.
It was fun because when I did put it in boost, like, you're going. So it was fun. I just was like, oh snap, like I felt like I'm going so fast.
And I also think that for a bike that's 140 mil in the rear, 150 in the front, that felt perfect for you for wanting to do the features, right? Like you didn't feel you were bottoming out at any point.
Oh no, not at all. So, and I like a good trail bike suspension like that as well, just so that it's a little extra cushion. I even feel stuff like that in my wrists, and I didn't feel like my fingers weren't going numb, and you know, my wrists weren't feeling the impact of any of the jumps.
Wow.
It was a very smooth landing. So I was so impressed.
That's amazing. You didn't tell me that. That's awesome.
Yeah. No wrist impact.
Okay. So you heard it here, folks, from our resident trail shorty, Candice. She loved the bike, and I also loved it for the short amount of time I rode it, but you put it to the test. You rode it at a bike park that has jumps and also some steep climbs and a little bit of tech, and you enjoyed it. Oh, and sand, which again, like, welcome to California. But if y'all have any questions about the bike or want to learn more, like, feel free to contact us, contact Candice. I'm going to put her email on the screen as well and her Instagram. We are really active on social media, so you can either message her individually or us at the network. And I know Candice will answer all your questions that you have. Any final words, Miss Shorty?
Ari, send me the Nebo Peak. I've been cut off, but you can send it to me. I've been cut off financially.
N+1. That's what we gotta go with. N+1.
one e-bike, please.
Well, you don't have an e-bike, so maybe that's what you need, is that e-bike.
E-bike. Analog bikes only. But I've been changed. I've been changed.
You're a changed woman now.
Yeah.
I think once you get on an e-bike, it's fun.
Yeah, we left the park and I was like, okay, I guess I'm an e-biker now. So there's that.
We're going to use that as a clip. I guess I'm an e-biker now. All right. Well, thank you, Candice. We appreciate your take on the bike. And like I said, like the video, subscribe, all the good things. Follow us on Instagram and go give Candice a shout out as well. We will see you all on the next ride.
Thank you all for sticking around and watching that video with Candice and I talking about the bike. If you liked it, please leave a comment. Please hit that like button and the subscribe as we're trying to grow the channel. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Threads. And we're going to try and take a shot at TikTok too. So if you're on there, be sure to follow us as well. As always, thank you for sticking around and supporting us here at the Women's MTB Network.